important things, of course there are so many, is that they're not probably feeding their children as well as they think they are. I mean, nobody starts out thinking this is going to be a bad nutrition day full of junk food and fast food meals. But more often than not, when I have parents keep a record of what they're eating and they hand it to me, the very first thing out of their mouth is, this isn't usual. This is not what we normally do. And yeah, and it's because they really think that that's not what they're not normally doing. But the truth is, with all the craziness in modern life, that's often what they really are doing. So the first thing to do is become aware, what are you actually feeding your kids? Maybe write it down for a couple of days. And then you take the hit, because it's going to be, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is what my kids are eating.
What should a parent do if they raise concerns over developmental issues and your doctor dismisses you by saying, don't worry, you're stressed out, let's wait and see?
I'm a strong believer that parents know the kids the best and that they should follow their instincts. Yes, occasionally a parent might overreact to something, but better to overreact and catch it early and perhaps overdo it than miss an opportunity for helping with development, because there are windows of opportunity for development. If you miss them, it's like taking a cake out of the oven, looking at it for a while and putting it back. It's not the same cake. And so when you miss those opportunities, they're missed. So the worst that will happen is you'll be all wet, everything will turn out fine, but I would follow through. Get a second opinion, get a third opinion. I've had parents get fourth, fifth, and sixth opinions. And gosh darn it, if they're not usually right. Studies have found that early intervention seems to help. Now, of course, it doesn't fix everything, but the brain is practically plastic the first couple of years. So what they try to do is make you wait till 3 when it's really, for sure, there's a big problem. You've missed so many opportunities for helping with development.
It's hard for parents to make diet changes themselves without a doctor prescribing these changes. What information helps parents make these changes?
I think knowledge is power. And knowing, the parents that I deal with actually very often have an instinct about what the problem is. It's very rare that I say something, they go, oh my goodness, I cannot believe it. Often they say just the opposite. Oh, that's what I always thought, but Dr. So-and-so or my mother-in-law or my friend said that wasn't true. So I think that part of it is clicking into what you suspect is the issue already. And it does take a little bit of guts to sometimes go through against the waves, as it were. But the good thing about nutrition interventions is they're very rarely harmful. It's hard to hurt your kids with this stuff. And so I'd rather have you think about nutrition first rather than other more invasive interventions. So I like to put nutrition at the top of the list rather than at the bottom of the list.
And why do you think some parents are successful and others are not making these changes?
Kirsten, I think it's a confidence game. And that's what I'm hoping the book's going to help people do, is get more confident in what they sort of know. I mean, people can look at their kids' diets and say, oh, something's wrong with this picture. And they often march into the doctor, and the doctor says, well, are they growing? And they go, yeah, well, they're fine. You worry too much. And so confidence, when I grew up, my mother was the worst cook ever. She made the worst food ever, but she had no questions about nutrition, because that generation of women, they just knew what they felt about nutrition. Not this generation. This generation is like, oh, should we talk about this? Should we do that? It's really a confidence game. And the parents who do well are sure what they need to do, almost like Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer. They kind of walk in with confidence, and the kids go along because they feel that somebody knows what's going on. They feel that things are calm and sure, and it works a lot better.
So you talk about making a list of facts when you go to the doctor.
People don't really realize is that you're on the clock. I mean, the average doctor's appointment lasts less than 15 minutes. And what parents often think is, oh, I'm finally getting my every 6-month appointment. I'm going to talk about, and they have a list of 10 things. And what's going to happen is you're not going to have that much time. So the doctor is going to pick which of those things they want to address or they think is most important. So if you have something you really want to address, you better make sure that's the first, and sometimes if it's complicated, the only thing you talk about, so you don't get off track.
Do you think that children on a restricted diet need supplementation?
Yeah, I do think kids on a restricted diet, and I think a lot of kids actually can do well, because once again, you're closing the gap between what the child will eat, what the child is actually eating, and what you need for optimal development. So, for example, in a case where the child is developmentally delayed, they don't need a regular amount of nutrients because they're trying to catch up. So they need an extra amount of nutrients. So it's pretty tough to do that completely in the diet unless you make diet your religion, and that's a pretty tough thing. And even then, you have absorption, you have medications, you have illnesses and everything else that gets in the way. So I think that vitamins and minerals and other supplements can really help insurance-wise in terms of closing that gap, and also they can help therapeutically.
You have this amazing technique you describe in your book of introducing food over a period of time. Can you explain this to us?
Yeah, I called it the EAT program just to give it a little cute acronym. It means eliminate, add, and try. And basically, the principle is that most people don't like things the first time out. I mean, how many things that first time you had squid or eel, I mean, most people are like, ooh, whoa, that's a bit much. So for a lot of kids, that's what a vegetable is. It's something very strange and difficult. So you can't expect them to go yippity-doo-dah the first time. The first time you're almost just adjusting to the texture, the color, whatever it is. So in our culture, the minute the child says, oh, I don't like that, the food disappears. It's like, oh, Jonathan doesn't like peas. But you have to try things like 10, 12, 14 times, and consistently helps, because if you wait a couple weeks in between, the child will forget. So I have people do one bite, so it's not like you're chewing through a cow or some big project, you know. You're going to have one bite every day for a couple weeks, and expect that the first couple days it's not going to go well, and that's okay. That's the important thing for parents to know. The kid doesn't have to like it immediately. It took me 3 years to like Indian food. Yeah, because I grew up in Pennsylvania Dutch country, and we had very bland cuisine. And so a friend of mine was determined, and every time we had this meeting that we had monthly, she'd order an Indian food, and golly, it took me 3 whole years. But by the end of it, I found stuff I liked, and I kept eating it. I would never order on my own, right. And that's what it takes.